Again, good evening, everyone. If you'd like, if you would, please go ahead and take a seat. We'll go ahead and begin with our dedication and memorial portion of today's event. I am Tammy Miller. I'm one of the agriculture professors here at Joliet Junior College. And on behalf of the entire college, as well as Bill's family, it is my honor to thank you all for being with us today to celebrate the life and legacy of William B. Johnson. As many of you in the room are, I too am a graduate of the agriculture programs here at JJC. So I've been blessed to not only be one of Bill's students, but I've also had the honor of being one of his teaching partners for the last 18 years, as well as sharing those advising roles. My office was next door to his. There was no confusion as to whose was whose. If you've seen Mr. Johnson's office, you know it resembles something from Hoarders, whereas mine was a little neater. We have the tremendous honor this evening for several of us to make a few comments about Bill and then to have a dedication. But before we get into that, I want to thank everyone at JJC that has made this day possible, from our foundation office to food services to custodial to Mary Swickla here at the building. And I also want to thank JJC. You may have noticed that the flags were flying at half-mast today, and that is in honor of Bill. So thank you to everyone who in a very short time frame have made this a wonderful day. So Bill Johnson's passion for agriculture began as he grew up as a farm boy on a farm near Sugar Grove, Illinois, with the son of Lois and Carl Johnson. Alongside his brother Dave, Bill enjoyed the typical farm boy lifestyle, nurturing animals and getting his hands dirty in the fields. He cultivated his love for agriculture into a master's degree from the University of Illinois in agriculture education, and actually began teaching here at JJC immediately upon graduation in 1968. Mr. Johnson always used to jokingly tell the story of how he was confident that he was the one hired by then President Elmer Rowley because he was the cheaper hire. Being fresh out of college and no experience, he was the better financial decision. I shudder to think how the trajectory of the agriculture programs at Joliet Junior College would have been different if President Rowley hadn't made that frugal yet oh so wise decision to hire Bill. During his 50 years as a humble servant to the mission of JJC, Bill not only educated us students on the latest production practices and technologies, but he also showcased the tremendous career opportunities available in agriculture, and even more importantly, helped students realize that they had greater potential than they even realized that they had. Bill challenged students. He challenged them in the classroom, he held them accountable, and he challenged them to consider internships far away from home. Students knew Bill's classes would be rigorous. Especially do some of you remember his agriculture marketing course? And oftentimes students would grow weary of every graph and table and chart that he presented. As one student posted on Facebook after Bill's passing, "We hated your graphs, but we loved you, Mr. Johnson." Bill helped start the JJC Agriculture Production Swine Management Program and was its largest champion, being an active member in state and national pork producer organization and committees. No one, I mean no one, loved pork or bacon more than Bill Johnson. Bill would be drooling over the bacon maple cookies that we enjoyed in his honor tonight. Bill was definitely JJC's #1 promoter and #1 recruiter. His license plate even read JJC Ag. We estimate that it's at least 1,000 times that Bill set up and took down our ag display at recruitment events. Bill believed so heartily in JJC that he not only gave of his time, but his monetary resources, establishing scholarships for agriculture students. Bill's focus throughout 50 years always remained on what was best for JJC students, as well as agriculture education as a whole. He wasn't afraid to give you his opinion, and he didn't worry about following proper procedures if he didn't think they were in the best interest of students. Bill's motto: it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And it was easy to tell when Bill was becoming particularly passionate, or perhaps the better word is obstinate, about a topic or opinion that he had, as his voice would get a couple pitches higher or two. Perhaps some of the alumni or committee members in the room can remember those times, and perhaps you've even tried to imitate that famous Billy J voice change. Although Bill was one that had a love-hate relationship with his computer, Bill adopted social media platforms quite quickly and utilized Facebook and Twitter to promote JJC and stay current with agriculture issues. He also stayed current with his many former JJC students, and unfortunately many of us will receive one fewer like with Bill's passing, as Bill was always there with a thumbs up or an all caps YOU in his happy birthday to you greeting. The JJC Ag Concourse windows rival that of a proud parent's refrigerator, as Bill posted pictures and newspaper clippings of current and former JJC student accomplishments. I recall a time when I was actually embarrassed by Bill as he boastfully told people about an accomplishment that I had had as a student. I've since grown to realize that Bill just considered me, as he did many of you in the room, one of his children. And no different than what a proud parent would do, he was proud of the work that he had done to help guide me to that success. So maybe it was his parental-like love for his students that allowed him to impressively have the ability to not only recall any former student's name. I'm confident if he were here with us tonight, he could say your name, he could tell you what year you graduated and who your classmates were. Bill opened his heart and home to students, allowing students to rent rooms in his house, as well as inviting students over for dinner that often included the pheasant that he had harvested himself. When asked when he planned to retire, he would proudly state, well, once it's not fun anymore, I'll back it up a year, and that's when I'll retire. I'm beyond brokenhearted that today's event is a celebration of life and not the retirement party that so many of us thought that we would plan for him. But I'm comforted in knowing that it still must have been fun for him, as he didn't ever mention the word retirement in our department. Outside of agriculture education, Bill's passion included his family, the Cubs, hunting, and did you know Star Trek? Can you do it? Bill was quite disappointed in me that I could never quite master it. Bill was not one to commonly text, but I received one proudly at 11:49 p.m. on November 2nd, 2016. Anybody know the significance of the date? Yes, the Cubs had finally won the World Series again. They won, of course, because Bill wore his lucky Cubs t-shirt underneath. Now, I know you're all going, wait, all he ever wore were the button-down JJC shirts, but he wore his lucky Cubs t-shirt continuously through the playoffs underneath that shirt. We're not quite sure if it got washed. And he drew a large blue W on the dry erase boards in all the ag classrooms, which he particularly took pride in because Mr. Angus is a Sox fan. Without a doubt, Bill loved hunting, his dogs Tina and Blaze, and more importantly, he loved the bond that he had with so many of you that were his hunting buddies. In 50 years, Bill never took a sick day until, of course, his recent leave, but yet, ironically enough, always needed a couple personal days in mid-fall when a certain flying bird is in season. Bill understood wisely that if you want to reap the benefits of an activity or organization, then you need to support the cause. I can't even begin to count the number of FFA, 4-H, Farm Bureau, Pheasants Forever fundraisers that he has attended over the years, or the number of baked goods or Terry Redland prints he bought along the way. Now, while we might be tempted to think that it's unfortunate that Bill never married, and had the same career for 50 years, I know that is exactly the plan that was destined for Bill. Jeremiah 29:11 states, "For I know well the plans I have in mind for you." God's plan for Bill was to shape the agriculture industry by mentoring literally thousands of students into successful careers within the field. He leaves a legacy that will never be duplicated, but yet he has laid a strong foundation for us, and I'm confident that we will continue the JJC Ag programs in his honor. I had the opportunity to address the graduating class this year at JJC last Friday night to share a short tribute about Bill. I told those graduates that even though they didn't know Bill, they could learn from him and that they needed to find their passion, find that activity, that organization, that career that they would devote 50 years to and not regret one day of it. Now I realize most of all of us don't still have 50 years left, but I'd still leave you tonight with that same challenge. Be reinvigorated by Bill's example of selfless dedication to make sure that you are pursuing the activities that make you happy and is your passion. Be involved in those activities that make life better for the people around you, just like Bill did. Next, I'd like to introduce Jess Smithers, the FCAE State Coordinator, to talk about Bill's involvement in state ag education.
Good evening. So, as Tammy mentioned, my name's Jess Smithers, and I do want to speak a little bit about the impact that Bill had at the state level, and obviously had a big impact here locally, but throughout the state. And so, today is a day of remembering, of mourning, but it is a day of celebration. To celebrate the impact of the life of Bill Johnson. And it's certainly an honor for me. I've known Bill for many years. It's an honor for me to make these comments this evening in an attempt to articulate, and I'm not sure that I can do it justice, but attempt to articulate the impact that Bill truly had on agriculture education throughout the state, top to bottom. So, as Tammy said, I'm Jess Smithers. I'm the state coordinator for the FCA project. Agriculture education's mission through that project is an improve and expand agriculture education. And Bill was one of the biggest supporters, the biggest cheerleaders in our efforts. In fact, Bill was a key part of the Illinois Leadership Council for Agriculture Education since the mid-1980s when it was formed. The council was made up of 30 members who represent varying aspects of agribusiness, and he was a key member of that group for many, many years. In fact, he served as chair of ILCA from 2011 to 2014, and at that time, ILCA was recognized by the National Association of Ag Educators with the Outstanding Cooperation Award. ILCA members actively lobby for state funding and advocate for agriculture education, and Bill was one of the biggest and most active, most effective members in terms of advocating for agriculture education. Certainly with his local representatives, but beyond as well. In the book Tuesdays with Maury, if you've read that book, you know that in that book it says, "Death ends a life, not a relationship." Bill's presence we will miss. His memory we will treasure. Personally, I will be reminded every time I look down at my lapel, and some will recognize what I have on my lapel. It's what we call an AgEd 365 advocacy pin. And these pins are part of a fundraising effort to support advocacy for agriculture education. The effort started about 15 months ago, and without question, Bill sold more pins and promoted the effort with more enthusiasm than anyone else. And so every time I see it on my lapel, I will be reminded of him. And I'll also be reminded of him by this lapel pin for another reason. Obviously, you can't see it, but it shows a cupped hand holding up or supporting the FFA emblem. And so that's very fitting of Bill, because he was a big supporter of FFA and youth organizations and agriculture education. So Bill Johnson's impact on FFA and agriculture education in Illinois will always be felt, and his legacy will live on. Bill was a great man who was admired and respected by so many. He has profoundly touched and positively impacted all of our lives. And I was once told that the mark of a life lived the right way is to have made those around you feel loved, to feel better about themselves and made more complete. And Bill lived the right way. So we have been blessed to have Bill in our lives, and we should all celebrate the life that he led. Thank you.
My name is Mark Schneiderlin. I'm with a manager of the Will County Farm Bureau. And when I was asked to say a few words this evening, boy, I was honored, but I was very, very humbled. Then I paused and I thought to myself, wow, I was pretty darn lucky to work with Bill side by side as long as I did. He was a wonderful person, a great advocate for agriculture. I met Bill 26 years ago at a Farm Bureau Market Outlook at the Will County Farm Bureau building. We shared some ideas and some thoughts that night, and we communicated almost every week and sometimes daily ever since that time frame. I'm going to share a couple of stories about Bill and his impact in regards to working with the legislature, not only at the state level but at the federal level. But my stories are going to basically focus more on the state level. Bill loved going down to Springfield. He enjoyed visiting with legislators, and one of those things that he enjoyed doing was the Illinois Farm Bureau's Governmental Affairs Conference. He was a featured speaker on several occasions down there, and he liked to bring back materials to his classrooms. And he was not able to make it this past year. It was the first one he's missed in a long time. But one of those things that he did enjoy was meeting with legislators. This past year, we went in April, what we call Lobby Day. And we went down on April the 12th, but we sent out a reminder letter by the email on April 10th, which is an 8-page newsletter that covered the agenda that we were going to be covering down in Springfield. And we wanted to keep Bill in the loop because we knew Bill still had some opinions. He wasn't feeling good at that time. We knew he wasn't going down, but he still had some opinions he probably wanted to share. He was the first one to respond back from the email saying, Mark, I regret it, and I'm really, really disappointed that I'm not going to be able to make the trip to Springfield. But what I really want you to do, if you don't mind, please pass on to each legislator that you're going to meet with. I see you've got a very aggressive agenda. You're meeting with 15 elected officials from Will County, and would you please share with them that we would really do appreciate their ag education line item increase in the budget. And we'd like to continue to see that. Again, he wasn't feeling very good at all, but he still was an advocate for agriculture in general. And he said what this does is to let them know that this actually put all of our ag teachers on an equal playing field. Now they're being funded 12 months out of the year being paid instead of 9. And this is very, very important because we need to make sure that they have that message and continue to do that. We shared that message with each one of our legislators down there. I want to share a story with you. We met with Senator Pat McGuire on a working lunch that day on April 12th, about 12:45 in the Capitol. We went through our routine, and we talked with him, and at the end, we said, Senator McGuire, Bill Johnson wanted us to say thank you for the line item increase in the agriculture budget for ag education. He said he really did appreciate your support, and we really wanted to pass that on to you. Senator McGuire looked at us, looked down at the table, shook his head, looked up and smiled, and he said, I have no idea how Bill does this. Bottom line is that every time I get up, the day before I'm going to have a vote on ag education, Bill Johnson's calling me in the morning saying, hey, you got to vote on ag education today. We want your support. Ag education is good. Continue to increase that ag education for our budget. It's something good. We appreciate your support, and yes, vote yes for ag education. Senator McGuire said, he is just an amazing person. And he's right. Bill was an amazing person. He was basically an ambassador for agriculture. I know many of you in this room here tonight, and I also myself, we bounced ideas off of Bill. We ran suggestions past him. We tried to get different ideas from him, get his opinion, because he was the ambassador for agriculture for us. He did a wonderful job with the legislature. He was very, very impactful, did a wonderful job, and he met with both sides of the aisle. He was like they were friends. Like I said, we were very close friends, Bill and I were. And one of the other stories I want to share just quickly, Bill liked to talk to other teachers that didn't know much about agriculture. We did what we call a Summer Ag Institute with teachers, and we shared that with Grundy, Kendall, and Will counties. Bill always enjoyed having that one program where we cooked fish over at Fox Valley Winery. We cooked fish from a local farm here in Illinois, and he liked to pull the cork over there a little bit for a little red Concord wine. But he enjoyed visiting with the teachers, but the idea was to show them a little diversity in agriculture. And we did that through the fish. And we knew some teachers may not like fish, so we had a little chicken on the side, and Bill is jokingly always said, let's burn that chicken. That way they have to eat the fish. And we never did burn the chicken, but Bill was definitely always a character with that. Again, it was a privilege working with Bill, walking side by side with him, and he was almost like a partner in crime with me for a lot of the things that we did over the years. Bill, we're going to miss you very, very dearly, but we're never going to forget you, and we're never going to forget your laugh or your smile until we meet again.
So good evening, everyone. Before I begin on behalf of the board and the college, I just have a little story to share about Bill. I've been fortunate enough to work with him for over 20 years. He's a very special man, and we worked on various different projects throughout those years. But most recently, my great story that I will take with me forever is a couple years ago, we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the Whitendorf facility. And at the same time, we had little baby pigs here. And I'm a suburban girl, not a farm girl, so I was so excited to see these little baby pigs. I was in the back with Bill, and one was just snorting up against me, and it was so cute and warm. And I'm like, Bill, they're so cute and warm. I want to take one home. And he's like, Judy, seriously, those are bacon seeds. So my great memory of Bill. So I'm standing here tonight. I am proud to present a resolution honoring Bill Johnson, approved by our Board of Trustees at their May meeting. As so many have acknowledged, Bill Johnson served the JJC community for an incredible 50 years. He left an indelible mark on generations of students and will forever hold a unique place in the great history of Joliet Junior College. So I'd like to share this resolution with you now. Whereas Mr. William Bill Johnson was a longtime faculty member and was completing his 50th year of teaching at the Joliet Junior College, and whereas Mr. Johnson began his career in September of 1968 and was hired by Elmer Rowley, the college's first president, and was instrumental in developing the agricultural production curriculum. And whereas Mr. Bill Johnson also served as coordinator of the agricultural production management and swine management programs and was in charge of the internship program for the students in those concentrations. And whereas Mr. Johnson proudly served as the project director for the JJC Growing Agricultural Science Teachers Grant, funded by the Illinois State Board of Education. And whereas Mr. Johnson spearheaded the application to the 2017 National Association of Agriculture Educators and was awarded the Outstanding Post-Secondary Adult Education Program Award. And whereas Mr. Johnson was the recipient of numerous awards throughout his career, and with the most recent including the Excellence in Animal Agriculture Award in 2013 from the Illinois Soybean Association, the Distinguished Service to Agriculture Award in 2014 by the Chicago Farmers, and the Susan H. Wood Hall of Fame Award in 2017 presented by the JJC Alumni Association. And whereas Mr. Johnson was a member of the JJC Foundation Board since 2010, as well as a community college representative on the Illinois Leadership Council for Agriculture Education, and was a past chairman of the Illinois Foundation FFA State Sponsoring Committee. And whereas Mr. Johnson continuously demonstrated a deep commitment to Joliet Junior College and the agricultural community, devoting his time and talents to the service of others. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, does hereby recognize and honor Mr. Bill Johnson for his incredible service, dedication, and loyalty to Joliet Junior College, which was adopted on the 9th day of May 2018. So in closing, while this is only a snapshot of Bill's achievements and careers, I believe it is important to capture the essence of his impact through his formal recognition of his generosity and service. Bill's loyalty and dedication to our agriculture program and to those in our agricultural community is unmatched. He will forever hold a dear place in my heart and in the heart of this college. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Christy Mulvey, and I'm the Executive Director of the Joliet Junior College Foundation. I met Bill in 2001 when I was hired at Joliet Junior College. My first task from President J.D. Ross was to finish the fundraising campaign for this Whitendorf facility and get this building built. Bill worked beside me and John Whitendorf Jr. during the project, and he gave a generous donation to help build this Ag Education Center. Besides the Whitendorf family, I think Bill was the most excited when this facility opened its doors in 2006. There was never a pig having babies that I didn't get a personal invite to come out and hold a baby pig, or bacon seed, as Bill would say. Now, there's a few things that were different about Bill and I, and when it came to the baby pigs, he didn't mind the high-pitched squeals and the urine squirting all over there as he held the pig. I wasn't so thrilled. Plus, I didn't like the smell. One of the things I learned at my church growing up was the phrase, time, talents, and treasures. Some people give of their time by volunteering and doing community service. Many share their special talents to improve an organization or institution, and some choose to write a check. All three of these are noble and will help the successes of a church or a business or an organization. Bill Johnson gave all three. He gave his time, 50 years. He gave his talents, his knowledge of agriculture, and an abundance of treasures to the Joliet Junior College through the foundation. Bill joined the foundation board in 2010 and gave generously to the foundation to support ag scholarships and special projects. He sat on the scholarship committee and spent countless hours reviewing student application. If Bill wasn't at the college, in his office, or in the classroom, he was all over the country visiting his students on location of their internships. He cared about the students, he cared about the college, and he cared about our community. Everyone that knew Bill knew that his love for agriculture program at Joliet Junior College was gigantic. Bill was dedicated to his profession, but he was never too busy to call his mom, Lois, every night and take her on visits to her sisters or to Ohio to visit her other son and his family. I am so thankful that the college trustees voted to approve the naming of this arena after my friend Bill Johnson. I've never met a person more dedicated to Joliet Junior College and the students that we serve. I'm thankful that Bill gave me his time, his talents, and his treasures, but most of all, his friendship. I will miss you, my friend. I'd like to thank Donna Timer for the beautiful memorial tribute to Bill, and to Lisa Perkins for helping with the flowers. Thanks to our facility staff food service, Kent Blunier for cooking the pork, Mary Swickla, and the Ag Department and faculty, and my wonderful staff in institutional advancement for helping put this celebration of Bill's life together. I know that my friend Bill is looking down and thinking, job well done. At this time, I'd like to call Bill's brother up to say a few words, Dave Johnson.
I'm Bill's little brother, Dave. All I can say is, wow. I'm blown away by the kind words for Bill by all of these people. And the fact is, we didn't know anything about what he did. I mean, all of the things that he's accomplished, I mean, it just blows me away. So on behalf of our family, I'd like to thank the foundation, Joliet Junior College. In the last 3 weeks, we've met some amazing people. Christy, Donna, Mary, just the list goes on and on. And I know why he spent 50 years here. This is a great place. It's a great place with great people. So why would he retire? And he didn't. And he I don't think he ever would have. So from us to you, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for this celebration.
Well, again, I'll echo what Dave said, and thank you all for your time and your efforts in honoring Bill today. He would enjoy you to continue mingling. Please make sure that you grab some extra popcorn or a refreshment, or grab an extra bacon cookie, because that's what Bill would want you to do. So, again, thank you for your time, and God bless.